We're going to end all this in one video. This is the world's dumbest debate. I can't believe that there are people going on national television, drawing paychecks, and putting poison on the airwaves that is literally coming, from places like Twitter. Folks that are called Hall of Famers, legends of the game of women's basketball and coaching and playing. By now, I'm sure you've seen the sentiment going around that the Indiana Fever perhaps are more dangerous without Caitlin Clark. And yes, there's some marginal stats where defensively it looks like they are playing a little bit better the last two games. Throwing a couple wins on the board does not hurt at all. And Caitlin Clark historically has been a poor defender with some signs of improvement to begin this year. But let's be serious. This is idiot's analysis as far as would you actually believe that? And here's how you know I don't think they actually believe this. If you are seriously advocating that the Indiana Fever are better without Caitlin Clark or more dangerous, then why aren't you coming up with trades for her? You in your heart should believe that the Indiana Fever should go ahead and trade her since everything is set without her, since the offensive ceiling comes back to earth when you do that thing. The Indiana Fever had two huge wins this week that I knew would get weaponized by the dumbest amongst us, as I'll call them, to say these things when I think both of these games had circumstances for the Fever to come out and play like that. Napheesa Collier comes out and gives an all-time atrocious performance that almost reflects nothing that she did in the first half of the year. You're probably going to find a way to win that game, and it's a tough game to win, and you're on the road, and then the Lynx just got shut down and only scored 54 points. How often is that going to happen? I don't know. Every single Las Vegas ace but Asia Wilson was a negative. In those two games, the guards amongst those, Courtney Williams is known to be inconsistent. Jewel Lloyd and Chelsea Gray have been models of inconsistency. Fever got some home cooking after a big win and didn't experience a come down. This team was already headed this direction defensively. So with Caitlin Clark, they have a 110.9 offensive rating. So every 100 possessions, they're scoring 110 points. And the defensive rating for the season is 101. So they already have a great defense when she's in the lineup. So yes, I know the games against the Aces and the Lynx got a lot of people hyped up. But let's not forget about the game against the Sparks, where they blew that lead on their home floor. At the end of the day, we were talking about marginal differences in how some of these games were won or lost, with two big recent wins. We're so deep into the season now that this team has assumed two identities now, and they weren't going to get beat on the entire time that she wasn't in the lineup. Eventually, these people are going to adapt together to figure something out amongst themselves before Caitlin reinserts herself into the lineup. If Caitlin Clark got hit by a bus tomorrow, which I know some of the haters would probably wish for, and they had to run it forward with this lineup and this energy around the team, and we had to get every person from ESPN that, gives the horrible opinions about, Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever. We had to get them all on set and be like, all right, what's going to happen for the Fever the rest of the year? Are they going to be any closer to the championship now, or are they going to be further away and pretty much have to start over? I don't think a single one of them will go on the record and say, I expect this team to improve. I expect this team to actually compete for a championship. When we look at the elite of the league, when you have to beat them in several games, series, on the road, elite talent is going to win out at the end. And that's what Caitlin Clark is. Ari McDonald has been a blessing for this team. Someone that can fill in, some holes in the lineup here. But this is the same argument of how are the New York Knicks going to work Carmelo Anthony back in because Jeremy Lin, has electrified the New York Knicks. And, that's just a fool's argument. I remember in the late 2010s, the Lakers, Kobe would rarely miss a game, right? But if he did miss a game, and what would happen is the triangle offense would get run. They would put, a big guard in there, to take his place, or somebody that was very athletic, like a Shannon Brown, would get the start. And it would go through Pau Gasol, Bynum, and Odom. They would use their length, and the tall people would kind of, lead the team and, sometimes win. And then you would get idiots come out here and say, yeah, I think they're better without Kobe Bryant. This is the same concept. This is not smart. This is borderline edgelord behavior that's going on. So let's take a look at Carolyn Peck. And now Carolyn Peck used to say all kinds of ridiculous stuff last season about the Rookie of the Year race, about Caitlin Clark in general. She kind of has a natural preference towards post players, the way, she describes it. But I saw this and I couldn't believe this. Like, this is troll Twitter reply analysis going on the airwaves, and now we are forced to talk about this. All right, here it is.
You were at that game just now. Look, the Fever have been on a tear. They've won 2 in a row.
A tear. 2 games in a row. A tear.
A 25-point blowout of the Lynx in the Commissioner's Cup final, and then 27 against the Aces in this one. And both of those games without Caitlin Clark. How is Indiana getting this done right now?
Look, I think that Indiana is even more dangerous when Caitlin Clark doesn't play.
That's so categorically ridiculous. Like, they should have cut her feed right there. Someone should have stood outside the hotel room, wherever she is, and we need to rip the wires out of the wall to ensure things don't come out on the air like how she just said. There is no way in hell that the Indiana Fever are actually more dangerous when you have to guard less of the floor without Caitlin Clark.
Because she's a ball-dominant guard. The ball's in her hands a lot, so you know what you need to try to take away. But when you look at Indiana now, they've got so...
That feels kind of like dated analysis, because much of the season, the argument has been on ball, off the ball. The argument has been the motion offense. If anything, when Caitlin Clark does not have the ball, a actual criticism of her would be that she does not move enough without the ball. But that could be how it's being coached. That could be the designs of that motion offense. Like, hey, you need to be here, and you don't move unless somebody is about to replace you.
So many weapons. And Kelsey Mitchell is playing out of her mind. Aaliyah Boston.
Kelsey Mitchell is following the same pattern that she followed last year, where she started slow, coming back from the injury, and then started getting on fire. Do you think she's going to be worse without Caitlin Clark, when all Caitlin Clark has done for her historically has opened up the floor for her, has gave her plenty of room to operate, has made her a demon in back cut situations, has drawn additional defenders and got her wide open shots? Kelsey Mitchell is going to be worse. Let's stop the cap and the foolishness.
Boston. I talked to Stephanie White before the game. She said in year 1, Aaliyah Boston was back to the basket. Year 2, 2-man game. Year 3, they're using her.
I don't even want to talk about the Aaliyah Boston on-off numbers without Caitlin Clark. Y'all know what those are. Like, come on, man.
As a decision maker. And so when you have a point guard like Kelsey Mitchell and Ari McDonald making plays on the perimeter, and a post like Aaliyah Boston, I'm going to tell you, at Indiana, they are a threat, and specifically on the defensive end. Stephanie is so...
Remember what I said earlier in this video. 3rd-ranked defense with Caitlin Clark, and without her, these past couple games, they've been incredible on defense, right? Like, probably, like, if we were to just take a small sample size, that would project as the best defense in the league. Is that sustainable? That is a question.
Oh, please.
But 3rd... normal, right? That's what that's nothing to sneeze at.
With the intensity that they're bringing defensively with their length, their switches. I mean, they've wreaked havoc on their last 2 opponents.
It's a lot easier to say something like that on air if you're Carolyn Peck. It's an obvious argument, right? But the second you start to think about it at all, it falls apart. Because if you truly believe the Fever are going to be better without Caitlin Clark, or they look better without Caitlin Clark, in my eyes, you should be advocating for the Indiana Fever to trade her, which you are not. So therefore, you are lying. We will leave it there. Now, have there been times in basketball history where players have come out of the lineup and teams have figured it out around them to be better than the other times they played? There's obviously the famous Ewing theory. This happened with Patrick Ewing sometimes. But I'm much more inclined to believe that this short-term success that the Indiana Fever have seen falls more along the lines of a statistical anomaly than Caitlin Clark actually needing to be moved out of the lineup, moved to the bench, or moved from the franchise altogether. Make sure you join our membership tab. Like this video, leave a comment below, help me out in the algorithm, all that. We are on the road to 5,000 subs. I appreciate the support so much from you guys, as I'm starting to see familiar faces pop up in the comment section and becoming regular watchers. And you know, a couple people that want to come talk down as well. So, everybody's invited to the party right here. So my name is Rich. Peace. This is One Lifetime.